Hey everyone, welcome back to Conservation Nomad. My name's Alexandra and today I'm going to be talking about my journey from pre-vet to wildlife conservationist. So since I was really little, I was always very passionate about animals and wildlife, and I always knew that I wanted to work with wildlife. Floki, come here. Want to say hi? Want to say hi to the camera? He's so handsome. Look at this boy, so handsome. Anyway, yeah, so I always knew that I wanted to work with animals and wildlife. And originally I wanted to be a wildlife vet because that's the only way I thought I could help wildlife. So when I was 14, I started volunteering at a local vet clinic, which I did every Saturday and Sunday for about 3 years. And then every Friday, I would volunteer at a therapeutic riding center where I worked with the horses primarily, but also with some of the kids. And that's where I got my first taste, besides picking up all the strays and having animals of my own and taking care of them at home. That was my first professional taste in wildlife and animal care. After that, when I was 16, I started volunteering at the zoo, which I've talked about. If you haven't seen the video Vegan Working at the Zoo, I'll link it up here and down below. But yeah, so I started volunteering there. Fluggy, you are psychotic. Μπορείς να ηρεμήσεις παρακαλώ λίγο. And sorry, concentrate, Alexandra. Don't be distracted by his cuteness. Yeah, so I started volunteering at the zoo when I was 16 years old. And I was basically a volunteer as a zookeeper. And that's where I got a taste of conservation too. Because as I said, I was really interested. I loved wildlife and animals. So that's where I started learning. And through the zookeepers, they were teaching me a lot about enrichment, about their habitats, about their threats and things like that. So that's where I got my first taste of conservation. And then after I graduated high school, I went to college, UMass, and I started off as pre-vet. I did a year of pre-vet. I did classes like animal science, and I was in goat management. Yes, I took a class called goat management. It was great. And actually that's where I first got a taste that I didn't want to be a vet, because I also see how animals, their reaction was to vets. Same with us, no one wants to go to the doctor, no one likes their doctor. And it's the same for animals, they're afraid of the vet. So I was really confused because I'm like, okay, this is what I've wanted to do my whole life. I want to work with wildlife, but I don't want to be a vet. What am I going to do? Yeah, so I was like, what am I going to do? I want to work with wildlife. I want to change the world, but I don't want to be a vet. And I didn't really know, without being a wildlife vet, how I could help wildlife and animals. And it was through goat management, actually, that I talked to this girl. And she told me that she's double majoring and that she was doing wildlife conservation. And I was like, what is that? And she described it to me a bit. And I was like, that sounds like exactly what I want to do. So she brought me along to one of her classes, which was about exotic wildlife in the US. And I was just fascinated right away. The professor was amazing, who he after became my advisor, and love him to death. And yeah, so I went right after the class to him. I told him I wanted to switch. He was like, are you sure? Blah, blah, blah. So he gave me some more classes to go look at. And I did, and I was confident that that's what I want to do. So I finished off my first year, and then I switched, and it was the best decision ever. I loved all of my classes. I was thriving. I was learning so much. And before that, I had made the decision to switch, but I wanted to have experience too, to make sure that this is what I want, because in theory it sounded amazing, but I'm like, what about in real life? Would I like it as much? So I signed up to do an internship in South Africa at Siafunda Wildlife Conservation. So I went there for a month, and it was everything I expected and more. I had the time of my life. I met absolutely amazing people, did amazing things, learned so much. Just like experiences that I'll have for the rest of my life. And I was sure, at that point I was sure that like, yes, I want to do wildlife conservation. This is my calling. Yeah? Oh, okay. So then I came back and I switched classes and I loved it. I started getting involved in some campaigns. Like I was with Greenpeace doing Save the Arctic campaign. I did the training with Greenpeace for non-violent protesting. And then I talked to someone who was doing Global March for Lions in New York City. And I told her I was interested in participating, and she asked me to give a speech about it since I was studying conservation. And so I gave a speech about trophy hunting and cub petting. It was terrifying but amazing at the same time. And that is kind of how I got into the next phase, which I'm going to talk about, where it's the whole like illegal wildlife trade and the trophy hunting. Okay, so after I did the Global March for Lions, I did a semester abroad in Australia, where I learned all about the fauna and flora there, and my research paper was on tree kangaroo identification, which I really loved, and we did a lot of tree planting and just a lot of conservation work in the Queensland area in the tropical rainforest, which was absolutely amazing. And just all of this stuff just kept adding on to my excitement and like telling me that this is what I want to do, this is what I'm meant to do. And after I graduated, I came back. I worked at the zoo for a bit as an educator, where I was teaching kids about conservation, about veganism, about animal care and activism. So that was really cool too. And then I went off to do my master's in the UK. I did wildlife conservation and policy, and that's when I was like really interested in the illegal wildlife trade. As I said, it all started from the Global March for Lions, where I started looking about trophy hunting, and that led into like the illicit trophy hunting trade, and then about the illegal wildlife trade, which is like mind-blowing. It's anywhere from timber to exotic pets to like rhinos and elephants and stuff like that. So it was really fascinating to me, and it's such a huge problem. I'll talk about it in a different video for sure. So I was like mesmerized by that, and I was like, this is the area I want to like specialize in. So that's what I focused my master's on mostly, policy on illegal wildlife trade. And my goal was to try and join CITES, and try and make a difference through policy regarding the illegal wildlife trade. But then I keep going back and forth. Like I keep wanting different things because I want to find the best way to help make a difference, basically. So after I finished my master's, I was looking into joining CITES or doing another job in policy. Then I sat back a bit and was like, you're young, you have energy still, you have passion and excitement. Like, do you want to do something that will keep you inside? Because I also love nature, I love being outside. So I was thinking about that, and then I started volunteering at Anima, which is a wildlife rehabilitation center here in Athens. And oh yeah, I forgot to mention, that while I was doing my master's, we did a 2-week practical in Kenya on human-wildlife conflict, which I also really love. We got to speak to lots of locals, to some of the people in the Maasai tribe in the area, and try and find solutions for the human-wildlife conflict, which primarily for them is like when lions or other predators attack their livestock due to habitat destruction. They are forced to share the same habitat, and so they step on each other's toes, let's say. It's like very general, but again, I'll do another video on that. Anyway, so coming back, this video is all over the place. I'm so sorry, but they just come to me. So yeah, so going back to recently, as I said, I started volunteering at Anima, which is a wildlife rehabilitation center here in Athens, Greece. And after volunteering for about a month, they offered me a position, and I think it's my favorite thing that I've done so far, wildlife rehabilitation. And at the point I am now, that's what I would ideally like to continue. It was definitely very stressful, very sad, and very like emotionally draining, but also so rewarding, and like you can see the difference you make, and you have the contact with the animals, which I craved a lot, but in a way that you're not harming them. So it was just for me a perfect balance, and yeah, I enjoyed it so much. So yeah, as I was saying, I would love to do, like at the phase I'm in now, I would like to do wildlife rehabilitation, and as I said, basically anything that I can do that can make a difference. And I'm just trying to figure out what the best way to do that is, because the reality is, as much as I love working with animals, us humans are very important in their well-being and their future. So it's very important for us to work with humans too, to better affect wildlife's future. So I think wildlife policy and education is super important as well. So I'm just trying to figure out that part, what I want to do. Currently, I'm working at the Marriott. And I'm doing that because I was really interested in ecotourism as well. And even though the Athens Marriott does not have an ecotourism section, I just thought it would be a great chance, an opportunity to work a bit in tourism and see how I like it, and see if ecotourism is something I would want to try out. And so far, I really enjoy it. I love talking to people. I try to mention always that I cite wildlife conservation and bring up important issues, even though we don't have an ecotourism section. Most people are very interested and willing to listen, so I'm very thankful for that. But yeah, that's where I am now. That's my journey. As I said, I'm sorry I was kind of all over the place. I'm gonna go into now some more specific questions. I think I answered most of the questions in this video, but I had asked on Instagram for you guys to ask me any questions you have that I can answer. So I'm gonna read through them, the ones I didn't answer through the video. Wow, I make zero sense today. Anyway, here we go. The first one, what motivates you to do so much for our environment and the animals? So, I don't know if it's that much. So what motivates me? I think it's more my ideology and my belief that for the environment, it's our home, you know, it's Mother Nature. Why wouldn't you want to protect her? Like, it's just, if you think about it, this earth is a miracle and we should all want to protect it. So I don't think there's much motivation needed for me for that, you know? It's just like, I feel like the fact that I'm blessed to live on such a gorgeous planet and to have such a good life, my working to protect it is like the fee I pay, the rent I pay, you know? I don't know if that makes any sense. And for animals, the same. I just believe every life is equal, no matter how big, how small we are, how smart or not we are. I believe all lives are the same and we all deserve love, protection, security, happiness. And I think that those in power, or those that are more lucky, let's say, should take care of the weaker, unluckier ones. So again, that's how I see it. I see it that it's my duty to help and protect those in need, whether it's an animal or a human, or, you know. Next question says, I'm currently studying to be a vet and I would love to work with wild animals. Do you think my options will be limited? Also, do you think being vegan and a vet is going to be a struggle? Because it's very uncommon in my school in Greece. So, let's start with the first one about if your options will be limited. I don't think they'd be limited on a demand. This is just my opinion, right? Okay. So I don't think it would be limited on a demand perspective. Like, there is a high demand for wildlife vets. But it might be limited as to paying opportunities. That's one of the biggest problems in conservation, is that they need so many people, but there's not enough money. So you can find so many things to volunteer at. That's why like half of my resume is like just volunteer work. But when it comes to paying, because there's not a lot of money, there's not that many paying positions. So based on my experience, that's where you might struggle a bit, is because if you're a vet for like farm animals or pets, like there's always going to be someone there to pay you. Whereas through an organization, if they're struggling to make ends meet, it's going to be hard for them to hire someone extra. But I definitely think it's worth it. I do not think you should be discouraged. Follow your dream, fight for what you believe in, and the wild animals need you. So definitely go for it. And about being vegan and a vet, if it's going to be a struggle. For me, it was a struggle. As I mentioned briefly, one of the reasons I did stop being a vet is because I turned vegan, and they would take us to all these factory farms and even regular farms, and just seeing how they were treated was really hard for me. And knowing that I have to work with these people that treat these animals that way, like in a way, yes, it's still necessary, because those animals, even though they're treated badly, they still need care. So they need someone to love them and give them that care. I just couldn't stand by and watch it happen. So for me, it was a struggle. I don't know if that makes sense, but it was really hard for me. I think why it's uncommon is because veganism still is not, like now it's starting to become, more people are starting to become vegan, but overall it's a new idea, you know, like people are like, oh, I love animals, but I eat them. That's how I used to be too, until I became vegan. You know, I'm like, I love animals, I would do anything for animals, but I would eat meat, not that much occasionally, but like I would have dairy and animal products, and I didn't think about it, you know, because it was like, oh, it's food, it's different. I would never kill an animal or hurt it, but food is different, you know, and it's until you make that connection. And I think that's why it's still uncommon, and especially in Greece. But I'm really proud of you for being vegan and being a vet and wanting to be a wildlife vet. That's amazing. Keep doing you, girl. Next and final question, because I think the others I've answered pretty much, is what was there a defining moment for you? And again, I think I talked about it a little bit, but there wasn't just one defining moment that made me change from pre-vet to wildlife conservation. I think I always knew inside me what I wanted to do. Like I would watch wildlife documentaries on National Geographic or Planet Earth and stuff, and I was like, oh, I want to do this, I want to do that, which fell under wildlife conservation, but I just didn't know what wildlife conservation was, you know. Like I knew you could be a researcher, I knew you could be a wildlife vet, I knew you could be an educator, I didn't know you could be a conservationist. So as I said, I think there were a lot of moments. First one being that I realized the vet wasn't for me, the vet life. Then going to the professor's class about exotic animals, that was definitely a big one. And I think the final one was when I was in South Africa for the internship, being like, this is home. This is what I'm meant to do. This is where I'm meant to be. So yeah, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed. Sorry it took me so long to make another video, but I've been busy with work and everything. I'm gonna try and make videos more consistently again. I hope you found it entertaining. I hope I answered all your questions. Sorry, I'm all over the place again. But yeah, message me if you have any more questions, if I can help you in any way. You can message me below, leave a comment, or on Instagram.